So today I wanted to just make a different kind of video. Not a video essay or review, but more of a chill discussion about some of my favourite games of all time. So sit back, grab a cup of tea and relax. Games have been a part of my life almost since I remember. Whether it was playing on my friend's Game Boy Advance in the hallway of my preschool, or my uncle's PlayStation, it has always been there. Some of my earliest memories go back to observing and often playing the original Tekken games against my uncle. I highly doubt I was any good, but it created the love I have towards the franchise, and towards PlayStation. When I moved to Ireland in 2005, I was given a PlayStation 2 with a number of various games, such as Onimusha, Spyro, and of course Tekken. A random collection of games, but a great one. I remember how afraid I was of the Onimusha series. The voices of the demons still occasionally haunt me. I didn't have a memory card for the PS2 for years, so if I say I can play Tekken Tag Tournament, or Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban with my eyes closed, I can. At some point as a child, playing my cousin's PC, I was introduced to Diablo and Gothic. Both amazing video games, especially for their times. Gothic especially introduced me to something I have never before experienced in my life. An open world role-playing game, set in a fantasy universe. And I have to thank Gothic honestly. If not for it, I'm not sure when and if I would have ever gone into RPGs. The following list will contain 15 different titles, mainly from PS3 and PS4, as that is where I have done most of my gaming, or actually paid attention to what I was playing. These are in no particular order of preference, by the way. Abzu is a game developed by Giant Squid Studios and released in 2016. I have always had interest in it, but only got around to purchasing it in late 2019, and only properly played it about 3 months ago. It immediately became one of my all-time favourite games. Maybe due to its similarities to another game on the list. Abzu is an adventure game that solely takes place in the ocean, each chapter bringing you to a new and deeper area of the world created by Giant Squid Games. It is a journey of self-discovery hidden under a blanket of pretty fish and colourful visuals. And trust me, are the visuals colourful and the fish pretty. The game itself does not contain any dialogue, only a masterpiece of a soundtrack by Austin Wintory, who also worked on Journey and Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which only further makes the visuals stand out. And of course, some ambient sound and sound effects of splashing, communicating with the robots that help you on the journey, and a large fish swimming past you suddenly. This lack of dialogue only adds to the story in my opinion. A story that isn't exactly given to you on a silver plate. It's hidden within the world, within the locations, the music, the various creatures. All we know is we have to follow the clear path through different areas to follow a shark. Why? We don't know. We do not need to. Abzu's story lays within its journey. You discover the plot by playing the game. However, towards the latter chapters, it does become a bit more obvious. And how amazing it becomes, I truly cannot even describe. Go play Abzu. It's only 2 to 3 hours long and relatively cheap, but you will not regret it. I think I already talked my fair bit about Hellblade in the video about its importance when it comes to mental health, so I will keep it short. When Hellblade was first announced, I was definitely enthralled. A Celtic/Nordic fantasy game that deals with mental health. I was definitely in, and once again, I did wait for a bit. I didn't read any reviews or watch any videos, only heard the occasional whisper, so I went in essentially not knowing what to expect, and that is the best way to approach this title. And I was surprised immediately, the visuals, the sound, the intensity overflowing my body after my first death. Now, knowing that if I die enough times, everything would be lost, Senua's journey would be wasted. But I was intrigued. What will happen? How will the game end? I had to know. And so I approached the game with such caution I never gave to any game. Especially as I don't particularly enjoy playing difficult games. I usually go for narrative based games, as you will see in this list. So I pushed through, only dying twice after the first death, which if you played, you understand. And I completed it. The joy of finally seeing the credits roll was overwhelming. A burden was really taken off my shoulders, one which I passionately enjoyed. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is a special game, both for what it stands for and for the game it is. A beautiful, intense, frightening fantasy adventure game. And with an upcoming sequel, it is the one everyone needs to play. Okay, yeah, I really do enjoy short, narrative-based video games, but I promise there are other games here too. What Remains of Edith Finch is a narrative-driven adventure game released in 2017 and developed by Giant Sparrow, the studio behind the critically acclaimed The Unfinished Swan. Unlike games such as Dear Esther, Gone Home or Firewatch, What Remains of Edith Finch changes paths quite early on, and instead of solely being a walking simulator, it becomes a combination of exploring, reading, reality and fantasy into a number of different short stories, all which change the gameplay mechanics from being a cat that turns into a bird, a slippery monster eating anything it comes across, or a child just swimming on a cliffside swing. Each part of the story is different, it's unique, building and focusing on the characterization of the Finch family members it is focusing on. The main plot is a mysterious one. We gain control of Edith Finch, a young woman visiting her childhood family home as a last goodbye, and to try and uncover the truth behind the eldritch deaths of her family members over the generations. Each time a member of the family died, and there was many of them, their room was boarded up to never be opened again. This leads to the house gaining more and more rooms, creating this obscure, slanted shape it has. A physical metaphor for the idiosyncratic family tree of the Finch family. The way What Remains lays out its narrative is special. The seamless transportation between Edith and her old home and playing as one of the family members is beautiful, like a storybook slowly changing from one story to another. Each chapter is so distinct from the other, story, gameplay, and visual-wise, that it is too difficult to even attempt and explain any of them. One of the main characters is the Finch family house itself, filled with details of all its past inhabitants, each room's varying from the other, each having its own story that further pushes the characterization of a family member. Even left behind takeaway boxes on the kitchen table tell a story. Only way to understand this character is to explore it completely, and you will want to. Every room works as a museum for a relative. Frozen in time, we are gifted a definite look at the personality of each member. And of course, there are the books, the regular ones on the shelves, but also the large individual ones in every family member's room. Each book tells the story of the member's life and death. Every individual one is teleported to almost a whole new world. The game itself works as a book. As Edith narrates, text often surrounds various objects. A bench, a gate, or even the path in front of you. If you are looking for a short yet incredible story, What Remains of Edith Finch is the best option for you. Yes, you read that correctly. No, I am not insane. Little Big Planet is special. It really is. I purchased my PS3 in May 2009 for my communion. The first PlayStation console I purchased and not have had handed down, and with it I've received 2 games. Grand Theft Auto 4 and Little Big Planet. Quite a contrast, I know, but I was not complaining for sure. Little Big Planet was developed by a British studio named Media Molecule, who finally released Dreams this year, and released Little Big Planet in October of 2008. On the surface, Little Big Planet is a 3D side-scrolling platformer, with a Sackboy as its protagonist, a silent and cute character that quickly became one of PlayStation's main mascots. But it isn't just a platformer, it is one of the deepest creative outlets available to people. The levels people have created with what was available in the first game still amaze me to this day. And of course there were the classic silly games that everyone remembers and loves, such as Shark Attack, Mortal Kombat Fighter, and of course, Skateboard Run. I did not connect my PS3 to the Wi-Fi, which I only got in early 2010, until that Christmas. For over a year I replayed all the single player games and attempted to create my own, so when I finally entered the online world of Little Big Planet, I discovered a completely different world, a new community, one where everyone was nice to one another, one where everyone's connected by their passion and love for what Media Molecule has created, a place where you could escape to, a place where you could share your imagination with others, a place you could call home. And that Christmas Eve, after I made my PSN account, played a bit of multiplayer of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and hopped onto Little Big Planet online for the first time I saw it. In the news section, there was a news on Little Big Planet 2. I was overtaken by joy. I didn't follow news about games back then, maybe occasionally reading the official PlayStation magazine, but I didn't know about Little Big Planet 2. And that trailer, the music in it, the pure joy and the warmth it brought moved me to tears. Happy tears, of course. Little Big Planet is something special. The late 2000s and early 10s were a great time for first-person shooters, from Modern Warfare, Medal of Honor Warfighter, to Black Ops 2. But the one I spent the most time in, and after still thinking about to this day, is Battlefield 3. 2011 was one of those years for gaming. Arkham City, Portal 2, Skyrim, Uncharted 3, Dark Souls, all games that could easily be on this list. Battlefield 3 was unique though. Not everyone's favourite game from the series, but undoubtedly the best first-person shooter set in current or modern times. Graphically beautiful with its Frostbite 3 engine, Battlefield 3 brought actual war to a video game. It was and is the best mix between a simulation and arcade shooter, capable of jumping around, doing things that are not possible in real life, but also of having a tall building kilometers away from the main action where snipers would set up and spend minutes waiting for just one kill, each kill being just as satisfying as receiving a nuke in Modern Warfare 2. Alongside the multiplayer, DICE also gifted us with an incredible single player experience, truly transporting us into the feet of a soldier. Battlefield 3 will forever remain my favourite shooter of all time, and in my life, put thousands of hours into the genre. Arkham Asylum is the first game in the Arkham trilogy, and unquestionably the best one. Asylum makes you feel like Batman, think like him, act like him, be him. The compact and atmospheric setting certainly adds to this, of course. City is also an amazing game, and we do not discuss Night, but how small Asylum is adds that certain thing. The introduction we have to the world, to Joker, to Batman, the intense small scope the game has, makes it feel like a standalone episode or comic, unlike an 8-episode Netflix show. As an introductory game to the series, Asylum is up there with some of the greatest. Listen, I could talk about this game for hours, but luckily James, Lasers, already has his Arkham retrospective, and I agree with most of his points, so just go watch that. I was introduced to Uncharted back in 2011 by a friend when Uncharted 3 was announced. I played the multiplayer beta and didn't touch the series until 2014 or 15, before the release of Uncharted 4, and it quickly became one of my favourite series to date. With the release of Uncharted in 2007, Naughty Dog clearly showed their place in the generation when it comes to making games, and they only proceeded to make things even better with the future titles. Uncharted 2, in my opinion, is the perfect sequel, expanding on the lore, narrative, graphics, gameplay, and overall feeling that the first game gave is quite a difficult task to do, one that not many game developers are capable of. However, Naughty Dog did just that. Bigger areas, harder puzzles, better gunplay, an amazing narrative, a narrative of suspense, adventure, and fantasy. Uncharted 2 is the Indiana Jones game we all wished of as a child, and Naughty Dog created an adventure that is accessible to everyone, allowing anyone to be their own Indiana Jones. I do not want to spoil anything from the game if you have not played the series yet. So if you haven't, there isn't anything stopping you from doing so. All 4 games were recently free on PS Plus, so if you have PS Plus, you probably grabbed them, and if you grabbed them, play them. What is the top video without mentioning Assassin's Creed? Assassin's Creed 2 is often considered to be the genre-defining game, whether it is the open-world adventure or stealth that is discussed, and we all know it is a special and important game. Now, many would ask, why not Brotherhood? What about Black Flag? Those are both great too, but Assassin's Creed 2 is what began this path that both Assassin's Creed and other open world games have taken. The first time I witnessed AC2 was at my friend's house. It was early 2008, maybe summer, and my friend's uncle, who was a game tester for Ubisoft and Bethesda, had an early build of the game. Of course, he was more than likely not meant to show the game to 2 80-year-olds who at the point didn't even know about the existence of the internet. But then again, what harm? We did not know what we were looking at until the release of the game. I was allowed to have a go, but we mainly observed. All I remembered was that there was a hooded character running around the rooftops, and immediately reminded me of Sly Cooper in a book I was reading at the time called Ranger's Apprentice, and so I was in. I did not bother going back to the first game. I knew it was a slightly different story, so I knew I'd be fine. And my slight obsession with Italy at that point of my life did not help. I asked the man at GameStop when the game is releasing, and then counted down the days until November 20th. And then I played that scene, you all know which one, and damn did it hit hard. Soon after, everything in Ezio's life essentially went to absolute shit. The story is one of the greatest around, all the way until Embers. We literally are with Ezio from birth until death, so we truly are connected to him as a character. A piece of us becomes him, and a piece of him becomes us. The setting and historical characters within the game appealed to my younger self. Florence, Venice, Leonardo goddamn da Vinci. It was everything I loved. It was all within a video game. I was in love, I still am. I don't usually replay video games, however AC2 is one of those that I have played at least 15 times at this point. It created my love for stealth-based games, such as some of the original stealth games like Thief. Assassin's Creed 2 was a huge part of many people's childhood, and it is a shame to see the state at which the series is now. Speaking of stealth games, let's discuss the best stealth game ever created. Arcane Studios' 2012 masterpiece, Dishonored. After the successful run of Ezio trilogy, many people became hungry for a first-person stealth game, similar to the cult classic Thief games from the late 90s and early 2000s. Many wanted a first-person Assassin's Creed game, similar to EA's Mirror's Edge, but there were arguments on how it would more than likely not work. And then Arcane announced Dishonored. The first time I saw it was, I believe, an E3 demo where Korol seeks out the Pendleton brothers in the House of Pleasures, on which I want to make a video about one day, as that level is, in my opinion, the perfect level of any video game. But I fell in love from first sight. Magic, parkour, stealth, choices. What else would one want? Watching the demo in action, seeing all the possible paths of entering the building alone, left me in awe. It was something I had not seen before. Dishonored is a game you can replay 10 times and still find things that amaze you, or ways of completing an objective that you have not realized before. The lore created within the universe is next level. From named objects, notes, books, paintings, the lore is all around you as you are playing the game, and behind gameplay, it is Dishonored's strongest point. 100% one of 2012's Game of the Year contenders, if not the best game of 2012. But of course, speaking of 2012 Game of the Year video games, Journey. That game company is one of the most creative game developers within the industry. Flow, Flower, and of course Journey. The title really best describes this game. All it is a journey. But it's not just that. When I spoke about Azu and how it is a game of self-discovery, it is the same with this game, but to a much higher, and I'm not talking about the mountain. Each person's playthrough will be different. Everyone's going in the same direction, but it depends on how you play the game yourself. When I first played the game, I came across another player almost immediately. We stayed slightly far from one another, until we began to help each other without realizing. We managed to learn how to communicate using only the gameplay mechanics the game gives to us. Helped, waited, and explored the game together. Not once actually speaking, only listening to the beautiful soundtrack created by the previously mentioned Austin Wintory. When I completed the game, I was in tears. The game is so powerful. The playthrough will be unique for every individual. Even the person, who I later found out is Swedish by searching up their PSN name, that played through the game with me had a different experience, as their own actual life is different than mine. Journey somehow manages to highlight your own thoughts to you by presenting you with itself. I recently replayed Journey on a live stream and I had a completely different experience than my first time. I missed a section of the game, I believe. I don't know how it happened, but it did. And it definitely felt different than when I first played it. Similar to Abzu, Journey is only a few hours long, so go play it. Disconnect from everything, close your blinds, put on your headset, and let the deserts of Journey swallow you up. What is there to say about Skyrim that either has not been said already, or that people don't know? It is a game that in a way revived modern RPGs, and not only fantasy ones. It is still played by millions as we speak, and it is still getting re-released. Seriously, Bethesda, just move on. The iconic, "Hey you, you're finally awake," can be quoted by the majority of the gaming industry and community to this day. Even though Skyrim had its bug issues, and still does, it is a way for people to escape real life and be someone else. Every child's dream of them playing with toy dragons, castles and knights has been recreated and accessible at this point on any device. Fifth in the series, but an entry point for many, Skyrim proceeded to build on a universe that inspired others. A universe in which you can easily get lost for thousands of hours. Being from Poland, I grew up with Geralt's Tales. Whether in the books, the awful movie, or the TV series, which are considered cult classics in Poland, or the video games. So the ending to Geralt's adventure was especially emotional to me, so much that I can't bring myself to even play the DLCs. I thoroughly enjoyed the first two games from CD Projekt, although I certainly did not have a PC powerful enough to even try and attempt to run Assassin of Kings. I even nearly purchased an Xbox 360 just to have a proper platform to play it on. Even with incredibly downgraded graphics from its announcement to launch, deals, you know what I'm talking about, Witcher 3 did not fail to give what was promised. An epic fantasy adventure with beloved characters for tens if not hundreds of hours. And now with the Netflix series, an upcoming animated series, and whispers of yet another Witcher title being in development, there is enough Geralt for everyone. One day I will play the games in English, I promise. Before we reach the last three, let's just read through some of my honourable mentions. Games that were just as excellent as the ones in this, but might have lacked a little something. Although I keep switching between Dragon Age Origins and Batman Arkham Asylum, so expect a video on Dragon Age one day. So the list is Dragon Age Origins, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, Flower, Fallout 3, Final Fantasy 7, 8 and 15, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, Pokemon Heart Gold, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Dark Souls 3, Bioshock Infinite, Tekken 2, Heavy Rain, Diablo 2, Gothic, Okami, Shadow of the Colossus, and Detroit Become Human. And now onto the last three games. I remember enjoying Red Dead Redemption, but I never loved it. I probably even enjoyed Undead Nightmare more if I'm being honest. Maybe just the timing wasn't right for when I played it, which was about summer to winter of 2013. But the story is different with Red Dead Redemption 2. When announced, I fell in love with the setting. I was weary of Arthur, as the majority was, but the mountains, forests and towns looked magnificent. They felt more like Tarantino's Hateful Eight than Stephen King's Gunslinger from the Dark Tower series. It felt darker, heavier, more grounded, a mix between Django Unchained, The Revenant and Hateful Eight. And it was exactly that. Red Dead Redemption 2 surprised me, as it did many others. We knew it would be great, but not this great. In our 80 or so hours with Arthur Morgan, we built a relationship as strong as with Ezio or Geralt, one that isn't commonly seen in video games these days. Nowadays all characters tend to be similar, all killing, emotionless machines. But Arthur, my Arthur at least, was a kind-hearted, altruistic saint, especially towards the end chapters of the game. Rockstar managed to make all the small things that people often tend to ignore, the major ones. That helped to make it the game it was. And how many games have you had a horse but never really cared? In Red Dead Redemption 2 it's different. Immediately when available to free roam, I went up to the snowy northern mountains, threw on my fur jacket, leather gloves, swung my rifle onto my back and walked. And I walked for much longer than intended, constantly being distracted by the world available to me, exploring forgotten campsites, walking down streams to do some fishing, talking to a weird stranger on the corner of a road leading to a western town. But I reached the horse after a while, managed to tame it and stuck with it for about 80 to 100 hours. It felt like the horse was my own, so when I got that scene, I was completely shocked. And it is not only the horse that Rockstar did that with, it was everything. From the outset to the end of the epilogue, a whole 100 hours of a tale that will forever be remembered by us all. Another fantastic surprise of 2018, this time straight from one of Sony's best developers, God of War. That initial E3 trailer with the live orchestra will forever be remembered as one of E3's best moments. That moment when Kratos just walks out of the shadows to reveal his older, bearded face. A lot of people were fans of the series, but not fans, including myself. I played all of the games, even the PSP ones, but never thought about them too much. I was excited, not as excited as something as the Final Fantasy VII Remake. So when I finished my first session with God of War on April 20th of 2018, I was left with awe. I did not want to leave Kratos, Atreus, and everyone's favourite talking head, Mimir, for even a mere minute. I wanted to keep going. I wanted to see where the story would bring me, and the places we went to were magnificent. The art direction in God of War is one of a kind. Beautiful, vibrant and magical. Not only was the art magnificent, but so was every other aspect of the game. The narrative step up was like comparing Uncharted 1 to Last of Us. A narrative where a father and son go on a journey to spread the ashes of their beloved, mixed with the Nordic mythology. The level design was brave, yet well done. Each world acting as a hub with areas to explore and find stuff about from Mimir. Then there's the gameplay. Oh, the gameplay. The first time you call back the axe, you can feel the impact in your own hands. Magnificent. God of War was a game that surprised everyone, and with a sequel in the works, it will have something to live up to, as it became many people's favourite game of all time. And finally, The Last of Us. I do not want to say too much, as I am planning on making a retrospective on The Last of Us before Part 2 releases, but I can say it is my favourite game of all time, so much that I literally have a logo from the game on my body for the rest of my life. The story Naughty Dog gifted us is perfect. The introduction is one of the best I have ever experienced in my life. The silence, the explosion in the distance, and the way it ends. Only to then have a 20-year time jump, bringing us to a completely different United States. One that is afraid, but surviving. The writing shines throughout the game, whether it's dialogue between Joel and Ellie, key moments, or random notes found in a garden of a suburban home. It never disappoints. Perfectly balanced action sequences with slowed down camera sections for us to relax and take a breath, but always on the lookout no matter what, as a clicker could easily be around the corner, or even worse, a human. The Last of Us is the perfect game. Feel free to stick around for when I go in depth about it.